Hello, everybody, and welcome to another adventure in history. I'm your host, Shane McInnes, and it's a Thursday, so it means it's adventure time. Not that Adventure Time, the show, but Adventure Time in history. And hello, everybody. Hey, Honeycomb, welcome. Figment, hello. Before we get too far into the mix tonight, I don't know if it was meant to be on the sly or if it just so happened to strike your mind when you came around to it. But Figment just resubscribed, and that means that we get to be Spartacus for just a second. So, Figment, this is for you. Thanks very much for your subscription and for all the future subscriptions.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
I was not supposed to notice. I know. Baskin-Robbins always finds out. And I am Spartacus. And now you're Spartacus, and we're all Spartacus. And sad faces mixed in with Spartacus. I don't know why. Are we sad Spartacus? Honeycomb, that is actually from the movie Spartacus. The original Kirk Douglas version of Spartacus. It's quite a good movie. That particular scene is not historically accurate, but it is cinematically remembered, and it gets parodied all the time, so I figured it would be worth it. It works. We're all standing together, right? That's the idea. She's acknowledging your bad attempt at being sly. Hey, it's okay. But seriously, thank you very much for the subscription. And thank you to everybody who's here. If you're hanging out in the stream, if you are giving of your free time to listen to me ramble about stuff and make bad jokes, you are very much welcome, and I very much appreciate that. We'll have to see if it's on Amazon or Prime Video or Netflix. No, it's because you can't press buttons. Good. Oh, buttons. All right. So, yeah, the show is Adventures in History. I am Shane. I am a college instructor here where I live, and we teach lots of stuff at schools, but I figured, hey, we've got this thing called Twitch, and we can reach a whole bunch of people all the way around the world, and they don't have to be where I am to hang out and have a good time. So that's what the show is. We talk about history, and we cover history in a way that is fun and accessible. It doesn't have to be all fuddy-duddy and boring, and I try to talk about the stuff that your history class probably left out, because the real fun stuff is not really all the stuff that gets covered. Sometimes it's the soap opera drama stuff that's the best stories, and we just kind of just blow over the top of them. Or do other things good. Oh, the puppy. Right off the bat. All right, let me call the puppy. She is a freshly bathed puppy, and I don't know if she has her collar back on, so you might see what we call a naked puppy tonight. Oh yes, the lovely assistant. Give me just a second, I'll call the puppy. Are we on? Yeah, there we go. And she has her chicken. Come here. Come here. You're under the table? No, come around. Okay. Come out here. Come out this way. Come out this way. Yeah. Okay. Now come here. Come and see me. Oh, yes. There's the puppy. Oh, and yes, you were naked. You were like a harlot. You're displaying yourself in front of the world and for all to see. But you don't stink. You smell so fresh. Ain't nobody dope as me, because I'm so fresh and clean. Okay, now back to the front to be on the couch. Yes, the naked puppy. Oh my goodness gracious. She's a mess. We should get her an OnlyFans account. You joke, but I would bet that would make more money than I would want to. I would suspect that there are people out there that would be down with the Kaylee Poo OnlyFans account. If people want to spend their money on that, go for it. Anyway, yeah. I had a line of thought that I was trying to follow up on, and I have completely lost it at this point. So it might come back to me. Who knows? Hey, I am Batbird. Welcome. Hey, Joey. Welcome. Welcome to all of the friends. And again, what was I saying? Something about people being here and having fun. Yeah, just generalized. If you're here and you're having a good time, welcome. If you're not having a good time, give it a little bit. We'll get around to some stuff. It'll be okay. Yeah, so... Hey, Sci-Fi Taoist. Welcome, welcome. Greetings, my friend. Man, that's bothering me. I had something like right on the tip of my tongue, and I was about to say it, and I can't remember what it is now. Take my money. Anyway, it'll come back to me eventually, and I'll have a moment where I'm in the middle of a sentence, and it'll light bulb me. Anyway, so yeah. It's Thursday, it's stream time, and on Thursdays we do history in chronological order. So we are now a few episodes into a new phase. Because so much history happens at the same time, we don't really cover the entire world, perhaps like day by day or year by year. I have chunked everything up into what I call phases, and they're usually about 100 or 200 years long or so. And we talk about what's going on in the world during that phase. So we'll have 9 or 10 episodes maybe that talk about this phase, and then when we get done sort of exhausting all the stuff that we want to talk about, we'll move to a new phase, and that'll be probably, from 100 to 200. So right now we have actually crossed over. We are past the years going down, and now the years are going up. So things are looking up. The world is looking up a little bit, I hope, for you all. I hope that the craziness of your world is on the decline, not on the incline. So, hope everybody's having a good one. Yeah. Otherwise, let's talk about some history. So, tonight we are talking about Parthia and Armenia. And these are two areas that we've mentioned several times in the past, but we left them in our last phase in really, really strong positions. The Parthians here, let me turn off the modern borders. Well, I guess we can look at modern borders and we can get an idea of where we're talking about. So the majority of tonight's discussion is going to situate itself sort of in this zone right here, right? So this is the modern day country of Iran, and here is Iraq and Kuwait and Syria and Turkey. And here we actually have the modern country of Armenia and Azerbaijan and Georgia, and this is Russia. We'll talk a little bit about these countries over here. This is Uzbekistan and Afghanistan and Pakistan. Of course, here's Saudi Arabia. And the ancient Parthian Empire, when we last spoke, had managed to put together a big chunk of territory. It was basically all of this stuff right here. Now, the Armenian kingdom, which had started off as a very, very small province of a very old Persian empire under this group called the Achaemenids, had grown from being sort of a small little regional thing to an actual empire of its own that sat itself right here, and at one point controlled basically the entire chunk of territory in this zone right here, which is, again, where modern-day Armenia is, and part of Turkey and Syria and Iran and Azerbaijan. And they were doing really well for themselves. They'd had this great king named Tigranes, and things was going really great for them. Parthia had just won this really humongous victory over their sort of arch rival. That would have been the Roman Empire at the time. Oh, well, I guess technically it was still the Republic at that point, because they beat this guy named Crassus at a battle called Carrhae in 53 BC. But they beat him really, really badly, and Rome was pretty humiliated by this. So the Parthians and the Armenians are both riding pretty high at this point. Unfortunately, things don't go so great. And that's sort of the story of history. Not everything stays the way that it is, right? So we're going to cover both of these areas sort of overlapping tonight because the politics of Armenia and Parthia are inextricably linked. And we'll talk about why a little bit later. But we need to cover some really weird and crazy stuff going on inside the Parthian royal family. Hey, Cave, welcome. How's it going, my friend? Okay, so where do we begin? Well, we begin with checking in on what's up with the ruling dynasty in the Parthian Empire. And the guy that is the ruler at this point is a guy named Phraates. And this is technically Phraates the Fourth. And he starts his reign in 37 BC, and now you're going, well, wait a second. I thought you just said that we had crossed over into the positive numbers. Yeah, well, we need to back up a little bit because Phraates' reign is going to go downhill, and this sets up basically this entire process. So Phraates the Fourth, he rules from 37 to 2 BC. He had fought with some Roman stuff, and he is going to end up having to basically take a loss because the Romans had managed to pull themselves together. The reason, or one of the biggest reasons why Parthia had beaten up on the Romans so much is because the Romans had been very disorganized. This is during a period of time where they had this thing called the triumvirate, and there were 3 different people. They didn't really like each other. So this is Pompey and Crassus and Julius Caesar. And then, of course, Caesar gets murdered and all that crazy stuff goes down. And then there's another triumvirate, and that gets all civil war-y and messy. But we end up with this guy named Augustus, who's the Roman emperor, the first actual Roman emperor. And when he takes over, things get a lot more steady in Rome. And Augustus is going to sort of whoop up on the Parthian border regions a little bit and to make Parthia sort of recognize the strength of the Romans. Augustus and Phraates are going to have to work out a peace treaty. I should show you Phraates, by the way. Lots of coins tonight, by the way. So here's Phraates with his bird and his well-coiffed hair. Wait, let's take a moment to appreciate that people liked that name so much that they carried it on at least 4 times. Yeah, Phraates, absolutely. Yep. It's good stuff. You hold your firstborn son, look down into his eyes on the day of his birth, and you go, you look like a Phraates. There's some weird and interesting names tonight. And I should note that a lot of the names that I'm stating are actually sort of Hellenized versions of the original names. So, maybe it was like the olden days version of Bob. Hey, Phraates, what's up, man? You're going to get a little bit of a kick out of this because, well, let's just get there. Anyway, so Phraates has to make a deal with Augustus. And the deal is basically that the Armenian region is going to have to be more independent. Rome had tried to take over the Armenian region, and Parthia had tried to take over the Armenian region, and Armenia was just strong enough that it couldn't be completely dominated, but both sides are going to be the ones that want to pick who's in charge of Armenia. Is that name related to Euphrates? Not directly. So the Euphrates is, well, I mean, in a way that Euphrates has a lot of Greek influence, and Phraates is a Greek version of the original Persian name. Yes, but not with core not with core elephants. The elephants of the words don't line up the right way. The elements were not. You wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't based on Euphrates. So yeah, again, the name Phraates is a Hellenized version of a word in the native language of the Parthians, which is called Parthians. And we'll actually talk about Parthian a little bit later in the goodness gracious, in the stream here. So, I wonder if they ever asked the mom about the name. Did she just pop out a human child she grew in her body, and the dad picks up the child going, I'm going to name this one after me, and my dad, and my dad, and my dad's dad? Probably the dad part. So, to sort of wrap this whole thing up, the name Frates comes from a very old Iranian or old Persian Parthian word or name called Frahat. And if you're familiar with modern Persian names, like if people from Iran, there's a common name over there called Farhad, which is basically the modern version of Frates. But Frates is a Hellenized version of the Parthian name Frahat. So it's not from Euphrates. Steph Bobstein. We're going to name you... or is that Steph Bobstany? I get what you're after. We'll just name everybody after whomever we want. That's the name. I'm going to name my kid Seven. The Euphrates starts not too far from Armenia. Yeah, I mean, it's right over there. This is the Euphrates right here. So this is the Tigris. This is the other river. The way that you can remember it is the Tigris is on top. So Tigris on top. So there's Euphrates down here. I've actually been... here's a fun little fact about the Euphrates. I guess this is sort of a free adventure hat moment. I won't put the adventure hat on because it's a very short one. But Figment and I and another one of our colleagues actually ate breakfast one morning while floating on a boat in the Euphrates. It's a pretty fun morning there. I have pictures of that. Perhaps I should show those in the next photograph session if we have another one of those. Okay, so yeah, Frates. He makes a peace with the Romans and he has to give up Armenia. And in the exchange, Augustus says, "Oh, Frates, I know that you're going to give up your claim on the Armenian lineage, but here's the deal. I'll give you a gift, and we'll be friends. We'll be friends, right? We'll be friends." And he gives Frates a slave, and her name is Musa. And she's an Italian, and Frates falls in love with her and marries her, and in fact has a son with her. You want to guess what the son's name is? Anybody want to guess what the son's name is? If I haven't given it away yet. Jim, Bob, all of these are amazing guesses. These are exactly what I was hoping that people would guess. Very, very close. Jim Bob. He wasn't from South Parthia. His name is Frates the Fifth. Frates McFrates face. Randy. Yes. So, Frates the Fourth marries Musa, this Italian slave woman. No, that's his horse. Come to me, Frates McFrates face. To battle we go. Anyway, so he has a son with Musa. But here's the thing. He has 3 other kids from his other wives because, he's the emperor, so he's got more than one wife. And Musa is pretty wily and convinces Frates the Fourth that in order to really solidify this friendship with Rome, he should send all of his other sons as sort of ambassadors to Rome. Like, you should send them as to go learn. They can go learn about the Romans. And then when they come back, they can tell you all the secrets of the Romans. So Phraates is apparently so infatuated with Musa that he sends all of his other sons, except for Phraates V, to Rome. Now that means that the only heir is Phraates V. So then it's really strange when Musa decides that she's going to take over herself, and so she poisons Phraates IV. That's right. She poisons her husband. Because, with your husband dead and a young son, that means you get to run the empire. So now we have an Italian former slave woman running the Parthian Empire with her son. And all of his sons were named Phraates. Yeah. I am the captain now. And to Musa. Right. And beyond that, this actually manages to get some traction, because if we look at... Where are my photos? There we go. I need to switch. If we look at the coins that Musa has issued for her son, who is technically the king, guess who's on the other side of the coin? So here we have Phraates V, young man, and here we have the queen, Musa, who's really in charge here. So we've got, oh yeah, look, it's the king, and he's this strapping young guy. Look, he's got that nice jawline, and he's got this youthful beard. Oh, look, it's his mother. And usually on the obverse side of coins, you would have some sort of mythical thing. Like you might have Hercules to say that you are being a great warrior. You might have yourself being crowned by some god or goddess. You might have some sort of symbol of a big victory that you have accomplished. But nope, on the other side of Phraates V's coins is his mom. Now, show me a bigger mama's boy symbol. I'll wait. Right? So Phraates IV is dead, and Musa and Phraates are going to run the empire by themselves for about 6 years, from about 2 BC to about 4 AD. And by that point, things are getting really sketchy with the Armenia situation, because letting Rome pick a ruler is not the same as basically giving Rome completely free reign to do whatever they want to in Armenia. And it turns out that in exchange for the Romans recognizing Phraates V as the legitimate emperor, they basically relinquish all hold on Armenia, period. So like no influence, not even part of Armenia, just Armenia is free to do whatever it wants to do, and the Romans are going to sort of swoop in. So, now Phraates is legitimate because the Roman emperor says so. But here's the deal. The nobles of Parthia are ticked. Welcome, KP. How's it going, my friend? Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if there were bigger ones. Yeah, well, there probably are. So, the nobles inside of the Parthian Empire actually had a lot of control. And the nobles were sort of responsible for supporting the king and sort of crowning the king. There were certain big noble families that were designated as families that held the crown, basically. The ones that could put the crown on the head of the king. And a lot of these nobles are pretty ticked because they didn't pick this guy. They certainly didn't pick Musa, who's not even Parthian at all. She's an Italian. They'd get real mad. Things are getting pretty sketchy with the Armenia situation is the most spoken sentence in history. Yeah. Fair warning, for the next 4 cycles, the next 4 phases of our adventures in history, we're going to have arguments between Rome and Persia over Armenia. And then in the cycle after that, we're going to have arguments between Rome and Persia and the Muslim armies over Armenia. This seems like a top 10 move. Yeah, so the nobles are really, really angry. And they decide we're going to get rid of Musa and we're going to get rid of Phraates V. We're just going to get rid of them. So what do? They revolt, and they basically have the support of the majority of the army on their side. Musa and Phraates don't seem to have a lot of military support inside of the Parthian world because, let's just be honest, they weren't necessarily drawing their power from being Parthian in the first place. And they get run out. In 4 AD, Musa and Phraates are going to be forced to flee the Parthian Empire. Anybody want to guess where they run to? You know where they run to. They run straight over to Rome. And they are greeted and welcomed. They're like, hey, guys, what are you all up to? They're like, oh, they're trying to kill us over there. Like, it's fine. You can just stay here. So that leaves an opening. Who's going to be the king? To the Euphrates, the peasants are revolting. No, they go across the Euphrates and they go over into Rome. Yeah. So the nobility then decides, all right, we've got to find somebody that can rule. And they find a cousin of the ruling family. The ruling dynasty, by the way, of the Parthians is called the Arsacid dynasty. And it's a fairly big family with all of these, multiple wives and lots of kids and stuff. He must be the king. He isn't covered in dung. Yeah. I appreciated that one. Anyway, so they find a cousin, and the cousin's name is Orodes. And this is Orodes III. And they go, okay, guy, here's the deal. You're now emperor. Go be emperor. And he's like, but I wasn't really supposed to be emperor. And they're like, oh, no. You're totally going to be great. You're going to be fine. You go be emperor. We pick you. He's like, I have been chosen. Yeah, so this is Orodes here. He's a little bit older. He's not directly from the what we would call the main line of the royal family, but he's in the royal family. He is close enough to make it count where it counts, right? So he takes over, and it turns out the nobility hates his guts. They're like, oh crap, we picked the wrong guy. And it doesn't take them very long to even figure out that they don't like Orodes very much. And Orodes is like, what am I doing wrong? And they're like, we hate your guts, we picked wrong. What do you do, though, if you're the nobility and you picked this guy and then he turns out to not be what you want? Do you want to be emperor? It's a scam. It's a scam. Someone find a watery tart to give him a sword. It'll be fine. Farcical aquatic ceremonies. Anyway, yeah, dude, don't click the link. So, the nobility are like, well, crud. Now we've got this guy and we don't like him either. Let's just kill him. Can we just kill him? And they're like, yeah. Let's just kill him. So they kill him. They just kill him. And what's crazy, and this is actually sort of an insult, we don't even really know how they killed him, because this guy is sort of a footnote in the official Parthian histories. It's like, and the nobility chose Orodes, and then they hated him, and then they killed him. Following a noble tradition there. Yeah, just kill him. You feel like women in lakes with swords is a legitimate executive choice mechanism. Oh, KP. Oh, hitting him in the democracy. Is this where Henry VIII got some of his ideas? Well, I mean, he was king, and he's just killing his wives. Lots of people that were kings killed their wives, unfortunately. That's not just a Henry guy. So Orodes, bloop, he's gone. So they're like, okay, well, maybe we don't need to pick from these weird cousin lines. Maybe we should pick somebody from like the main line, like the actual royal family. And they go, well, who else is around? We're not going to get Phraates V back. That guy was horrible. Plus, he'll bring his mom with him. No. And they go, but wait. Remember that Phraates IV sent all of his kids over to Rome. We should send Roman emperors a letter and say, hey, would you send us an emperor? So this is like mail order emperor here. They're like, okay, so he had 3 sons. Do we get to pick? Like, do we just say send us the oldest one? Or do we say like, hey, Emperor of Rome, please use your best judgment and send us the guy that you think would be the best emperor, signed your mortal enemies, Parthia. So the Romans, of course, are going to pick the one that is most Romanized. These guys had been living in Rome at this point for about a decade. That we literally forgot about a second ago. Yeah, you got to bring it back around. That's why there's no quiz, but you got to keep on your toes, right? All of those sons of Phraates. So they send over this guy named Vonones. This is Vonones the First, and he ends up taking over in 8. And the nobility don't like him at all. They think that he is a Roman plant. They suspect that he was sort of groomed from an early childhood to be a Roman, like, Manchurian candidate kind of thing. And this is sort of rude, but the sources say so. The nobles also think that he's sort of an idiot. Like, okay, you're going to go rule. And he's like, how does one rule? And they're like, make a decision on this. He's like, fish. Like, but we're talking about trade deals. Fish. I want fish. I'm like, oh, good gracious, this guy. Hey, yo, my guy, can you spot me an emperor? I'll pay you back, I swear. You know I'm good for it. You're the best. Shocker, yeah. Hey, Rome, please send us the least worst dude. Thanks, Rome. Ha, we have this guy that's totally Romanized, losers. Exactly. Hey, Martest, welcome, my friend, welcome. Just gonna be lurking and listening. But I left all of my rulers at home. Oh man, Martest, you are welcome to do all of the lurking that you wish, my friend. Hope that you're doing well. Oh, they sent that guy. Yeah, so here's Vonones. He takes over, and they're like, oh gosh, why'd we pick? Why'd they send this guy? Honestly, ugh. And so now they're like, can we just kill this guy? But the problem is, if they just went and killed that guy, then they have to find somebody else to take over. So they're like, are there any more cousins? Like, who could we find? And by the way, this guy is Vonones. And I know that I'm showing you coins that all look very similar, but let's remember that these people are literally all in the same family. They also have a very stylized way of depicting themselves as rulers. So I feel like this family should know better. Yeah. Like, okay, so we're going to go find another cousin. And the nobles throw their support behind a guy named Artabanus. And we'll talk about him a little bit more later. But here's the deal. They go, okay, Artabanus, you got to go kill Vonones. And he's like, but that's like killing my cousin. And you guys killed the last guy that became emperor. I don't know if I even really want this or not. So what if I just sort of ran things from my little area? Like he was, Artabanus was a sort of a regional satrap, and he had a lot of power in his little home corner. And he's like, what if I just sort of use my stuff and kind of keep things insulated on my end and maybe don't expose myself to be the next guy that you all try to kill? And they're like, can you just get rid of Vonones? And he's like, fine, I'll get rid of Vonones. So at this point, just look for an illegitimate child raised in Parthia. Yeah, they're all in Rome. Anyway, so Artabanus launches off on this civil war. And so Vonones realizes that he has lost his base of power. This, by the way, is in 12. So Vonones only makes it like a little bit more than 3 years as emperor before he gets run out. But when Artabanus pushes out Vonones, and I guess I could go... No, we'll talk about it later. Vonones runs to Armenia. He doesn't want to go back to Rome because, well, I don't know. I guess that Rome was already sort of in his rearview mirror. But when he gets to Armenia, he finds a situation where there's not an Armenian ruler currently. And he goes, oh, well, this is perfect.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him.
Welcome. So yeah, he gets to Armenia. There's not really a ruler there, and he sends back over word to Rome, and he's like, hey, Rome, you sent me to be king of Parthia, but they tried to kill me. So you need a friend that can run Armenia right now, so you should let me run Armenia. And the Romans are like, okay, that's fine. So Vonones becomes then king of Armenia. And Artabanus is like, oh, heck no. No, I'm not having some guy that used to be the emperor be the king right next door. He's constantly going to be trying to kill me. He's clearly got Rome in his pocket. No, we're going to go get this guy. So Artabanus invades Armenia. And at this point, Rome is like, y'all gave up Armenia. So now we really need to talk about what's going on with this whole Armenia issue. Rome really just shrugging at every little, like, okay, whatever. Alright, that's fine. Yeah, fine, yeah. So what's up with this Armenia area? Well, Armenia sits... Okay, wait a second. Let me actually make sure that I'm... Well, let me go ahead and show you Artabanus. This is Artabanus. He is going to be Artabanus II, and he rules Parthia for quite some time. Yeah, he's got a little bit of a different angle here. He's got the front view with the headband and the very dour look. What a maverick! Yeah, absolutely. I'm watching you. I got both eyes on you, crazy people. You're not going to stab me in the back. Yep. So there's Artabanus. All right, so I did that because I wanted to show you this map. You know you weren't going to get out of here without seeing a map. You knew I was going to show you a map. I don't know why people think that they're not going to get a map. So here's the deal. Armenia is incredibly strategically located. And at the time that we're looking, this is about 50 or so AD. And we see Armenia sitting at a really important, basically, fusion of a lot of different places. And I'm going to switch back over so that we can actually look at Google Earth, but I wanted everybody to see exactly where we're talking about. Daringly disregarding the traditional profile pic. I'll do things my own way. Indeed. Embrace the no map. Believe me, being the map guy isn't all that it's cut out to be. Oh, Cave. You do awesome maps, though. Okay, so the region that we're talking about is right here. And I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit so that we can get a regional view of what's up with Armenia. So here's the thing. And let's put our thinking caps on. If we are the Romans and we control this territory here, or if we are the Parthians and we control this territory over here, this zone then becomes incredibly important. And this is a geographical situation, so we need to look at the contours here of geography. Now, we know that this giant honking thing right here is a desert. If you're in Mesopotamia, you are not going to lead an army across this desert. It doesn't work that way. So if you want to get over here, you're going to have to go up Mesopotamia, across into Armenia, and then down into Syria, or the Levant. Okay. If you're trying to get to Mesopotamia, you're going to come out of Europe through Asia Minor here and go through Armenia to get down into Mesopotamia. So if you were trying to move basically anything on land between Asia over here, Africa down here, and Europe over here, you kind of have to go through Armenia. And the thing about it is that we need to remember what else is going on at this time. So around this time, we're also seeing solidification of the dynasties in China. We're seeing expansion of Silk Road trade. We are seeing organization of stable empires here in Central Asia. And that means with stable boundaries comes more money. So if you're going to hold this region right here, that's another one of these really important geographic linchpins. So if you're going to hold the money, you need to hold the crossroads. And that's where a lot of the crossroads are. But if we're just speaking on a military term, if you're going to invade your enemy, you need the good roads, right? And this is where the good roads were. They ran right through this, like, so there's a big mountain range right here. There's a big high area right here that with a plateau that's a desert on the top. So this is your invasion route. You don't want the bad guys holding the invasion route to your empire. That's like giving them a key to the back door. You don't want this. So Rome and Parthia both really, really have a lot, both physically and economically invested in Armenia. And they don't want the other people to have it. I can't have nice things if you can't have nice things. I don't know what the law is there for. But, law? So, John Calvin would argue that you never need Armenians. Oh, Armenianism. There's a good, deep cut theological Christianity angle for you. I don't know how many of you all are familiar with the esoteric versions of one group of Christian ideology fighting against others, but there's this big Calvinist versus Armenianism ideology thing. Like, what? You don't like the enemy controlling important areas? Yes. Like, oh my. Yeah, you don't want them holding on to the important parts. So what is actually going on in Armenia? Okay, so they had a really powerful dynasty for quite some time. Tigranes II was a very powerful king, is referred to as Tigranes the Great, had this big empire, had put together a lot of stuff, and things were going pretty well. Their dynasty was called the Artaxiad dynasty, and it had gone on for, at that point, about 8 or 9 rulers with unbroken changes. Things in Armenia were looking pretty great. But when we get to this period of time, the ruler is a guy named Tigranes IV, and he is this guy. Now, he's looking in the opposite direction, and he's also got Hercules on the back of his coin, because he's a good Hellenic person. Hot. He's got the cool hats. Anyway, so Tigranes is in a bad spot, okay? He's stuck between Rome and Parthia. And at the time, his empire was powerful enough that neither Rome nor Parthia could necessarily invest the resources to completely take them over. However, that doesn't mean that Rome and Parthia did not want to take over Armenia. And for Tigranes, Parthia was a bit more aggressive. Parthia was basically saying, we want to take you over. We want to make Armenia part of our empire. Armenia had been part of the old Persian Empire under the Achaemenids. The Artaxiad dynasty claimed relationship to some of those old Achaemenid people from, and by the way, Achaemenid dynasty is back in like the 500s BC, so several hundred years before. I don't recognize his name, but his fez looked familiar. Yes, help us to help you. So Tigranes decides that basically giving up limited power to the Romans and becoming a client king of the Romans is better than being deposed by the Parthians. So Tigranes is going to be the guy that basically dooms the Artaxiad dynasty. He's going to make a deal with the devil, and when this happens, there are a lot of people inside of Armenia that get pretty upset because there was a faction inside of Armenia that preferred the Parthians. Even though the ruling dynasty had stabilized the country, that doesn't mean that everybody was completely lined up ideologically. They all liked the rulers more or less, but that doesn't mean that they didn't have policy that supported the Parthians or policy that supported the Romans. So when Tigranes does this actually ticks off a lot of people inside of the Armenian kingdom, and there's going to be a civil war where Tigranes actually dies. And this is the point where Augustus is going to start naming kings directly. And for the next 33 years, Rome is going to directly name all of the rulers of Armenia, except for about 2. And these are going to be Roman clients. This is going to include Vonones, the guy that just got run out of Parthia by Artabanus. But the thing is, Rome's not even always going to pick Armenians to rule Armenia. For example, Artaxias III is from Pontus, which at one time was sort of like the arch nemesis of the Armenians, but the Romans get to pick who's ruling, so they can pick whoever they want to. You're basically already kind of one of us. If you look back at history, just let it happen. Be one of us again. Yeah, pretty much. Like, just assimilate. Just Borg up and just go for it. But when Tigranes IV dies, this is going to be the end of independent Armenia for about 3 decades. And when a lot of this stuff goes down, the Armenian people, they really just don't like this situation. But unfortunately, there's not necessarily too much that they could do. But when this Vonones guy shows up from Parthia and takes over, this actually makes some of the Armenian people a little bit more okay. Because in a way, he's kind of been raised in the Roman world. So he's got ties back to Rome, but he's also very clearly Parthian. So there are elements of both sides of the dispute that look at Vonones and they go, maybe this guy's got something. Maybe this guy's got something, and we can maybe kind of trust him. But this is when the Parthians are going to have to make a decision. Do they really give up on Armenia, and do they give away part of their empire, or do they fight for it? And Artabanus is going to fight for it. He's Artabanus II, and he rules from 12 AD to 41 AD. But here's the thing. Artabanus was, again, not from that main sort of trunk of the royal family. He was from an offshoot cousin side. And there are some nobles that were not particularly happy with Artabanus being selected. And that includes a guy named Gondophares. And if you were with us last week, you should recognize that Gondophares was the first ruler of the Indo-Parthian kingdom over here in what was at that time called Sakistan. So Gondophares is going to break away from the Parthian Empire and declare himself king of kings on his own. And at that point, Artabanus just has to say, well, take it. Take another little piece of my pars. Which leads us to our joke. Because the empire was falling apart. Get it? And also Pars is where we get Parsi or Farsi, which is the language that they speak in Iran, and Parsian is where we get Persian. So Pars is a region of Iran. It's a funny little joke. I got it in. And I hope that you're singing that song now in your head. Or maybe even out loud. I don't know. Anyway, so Artabanus loses a lot of land out in the far eastern part of the empire. He's not going to give up on Armenia. So he invades Armenia. First, he really wants to go kill Vonones, but also he really wants to sort of reestablish this concept that Parthia should run Armenia. But it doesn't work. In fact, it works really, really not at all. It doesn't work at all. It backfires really, really badly. The Romans are overwhelmingly going to be able to support the Armenian case. The Parthians are sort of forced to withdraw in shame. And it just so happens that the nobles who didn't like Artabanus to begin with are going to go, okay, don't like this emperor. How are we going to get rid of this emperor? How are we going to get rid of him? And they go, well, I mean, is there anybody else? Is there anybody else? And they go, I mean, I guess we could write to Rome. Does Rome have any more nobles over there that they could send us? Never going to give up Armenia. Never going to give up Armenia. Never going to let them rule. Anyway, so these nobles write back to Rome, and they go, hey, Rome, we know that the sons of Phraates IV are probably dead by this point, but you got any more of them Armenian ruling Arsacids over there? And Rome's like, oh yeah, dude, we totally have a grandson. We'll send you the grandson. Yeah, check it out. So they send over the grandson of Phraates IV. His name is Tiridates III. And Tiridates decides, I'm going to run. And the nobles start a big civil war because some of the nobles get involved behind Tiridates and some of the nobles line up behind Artabanus, and we're right back in civil war mode. This one stretches for about a decade. And it doesn't go so great. At several points, Artabanus is actually forced off the throne. At one point, he gets pushed out of the capital city, and he has to run away up into the north, up in here. And he just happens to run across this big horde of Scythians, and he's like, hey, I've got crap tons of money. Would you guys like to, put me back on the throne of Parthia? And they're like, you're going to pay us? And he's like, yeah, totally pay you. And the Scythians are like, okay, cool. So he shows back up with this big horde of Scythian archers, horseback archers in tow, and he pushes Tigranes out and redeclares himself emperor. But the civil war is still going on because half the nobles don't like Artabanus. So then they manage to push him out again, and he has to run away to this client kingdom of his, and he's like, client king, would you put me back on the throne? So this client king has to renegotiate him being back on the throne. So he gets back on the throne. He's like, okay, I am now emperor. And then he dies. It happens like that. Like, he takes the throne for that third time and then dies like a couple of months later. I question the wisdom of anyone who wants to be emperor in this time period. Right? Like, who would want this job? It's like you've got half the country that hates your guts, the other half of the country that's just waiting to literally kill you, and very small numbers of supporters that all want you to pay them off. Okay, so with Artabanus dead in 41, well, who we're going to get? The nobles are like, okay, everybody huddle up. And they go, okay, so here's the deal. We've had several bad picks, and we really, really need to get a good one. Because, side note, Rome is getting really, really strong. While Parthia is playing revolving emperors or musical thrones, is that a better one? I know the previous emperors died, but I'll be the one that makes it work. Yeah, so the nobles are like, okay, all right. We got to get a good one. We've got to find a good one. Who are we going to get? And they go, okay, well, who's really around? And they go, okay, we're going to go with, and I'm just going to do this sort of as a This sounds a lot like Daenerys in Game of Thrones. Yeah, let's just kill that guy because I don't really like him. All right, so let's do this. Oh, that's Tigranes. We're going to do this as a bit of a lightning round. Boom. We have this guy. He's the next pick. His name is Vardanese. He rules for 6 years. The nobles hate him, so the nobles have him killed. Yep, he dies in 47. Then they pick this guy. This guy's name is Gotarzes. And he takes over in 40. And for a little while, it actually looks like he might do something good. He's going to beat up a lot of people on the border. He's going to try... Gotarzes. Here, let me type his name here. It's not Gotarzes. Gotarzes. Gotarzes the second. Next Emperor draft pick. Yeah, right. Have they not just found some illegitimate shit? It might be okay. So Gotarzes is okay for a first couple of years, and then he decides, I'm going to conquer everybody. And this is one of the few things that actually comes out of this period that's actually decent. There is this big rock relief at a place called Anubanini, where he, this is sort of him here on the throne or the horse, and these people are giving him their allegiance. Anyway, but this turns out to make some of the nobles mad because he's conquering them and he's making them get in line. Hey, Averd, that horse looks like a cow. It's a couple of horses, and it's in bad shape, but it's one of the few things that actually makes it out of this period, so I figured I would share it. Anyway, so he starts conquering people. They don't really like the way that he's conquering people, so they decide, all right, we're going to pick another guy. So the nobles start another civil war, and they're going to go with the break screen. They're going to go with this guy. He's going to be the new guy. This guy's name is Meherdates. Yes, it's more than one horse. They're overlapping. You know what these reliefs look like, Figment. Yeah, so this guy's name is Meherdates. And he's going to take over. They murder Gotarzes. He only manages to rule for about a decade. Meherdates takes over. They decide we also don't like Meherdates, and they decide we're going to let him live, but we don't want him to be in charge, so they cut his ears off. No, I don't know if the horse doesn't have a name. It's not Mr. Ed. So Meherdates gets his ears chopped off. Now, what is that? Well, there's this ancient sort of thing where kings have to be what they call inviolate. Where, okay, I'm dropping frames here pretty badly. Am I still around? Okay, I'm still around. Looks like I'm still around. So if you're missing pieces or you have parts of you that are chopped off, you can't be king. So when they chop his ears off, they're like, okay, you're basically not king anymore. For how long he is predicted to be on the throne. Was this the horse that just rode through the desert? No, the horse doesn't have a name. Also, hey, Vern, I forgot to say hello when you came in. Welcome. Hey, Junk, welcome. Hope everybody's having a good one. I apologize for being late on the hellos. You are no longer pretty. Next king. And yes, the next king was a guy named Vonones II, and he ruled for about 3 months and then died. So, yeah. We're going to put a bookmark there. Random fun fact you recently learned. Alan Young, the voice of Scrooge McDuck in all media before 2017 reboot, was Wilbur on Mr. Ed. Well, that is something I didn't know. When is Tyrion coming into the picture? We're changing kings faster than the weird group of people over in the flowers. Who was that? Renly Baratheon? No. Because there was only one king over there. I guess technically the main throne is the one that went through all the different kings. Because you had Robert, and then you had Joffrey, and then you had the other kid. What's the kid that jumps out the window? I can't remember what his name is. Anyway, and then you just have angry mama / aunt. Anyway, lots of kings and queens. So what's going on in Armenia when all of this crazy stuff is going on over in Parthia? Well, it turns out that when the big empire that wants to take you over is basically having emperors are us sales, and you've got an ally in Rome that is mostly happy with you just paying taxes to them, you can get a lot of stuff accomplished. And Armenia gets its act kind of back together again. I hope he's in Egypt. He'd probably be treated better down there. Oh my, I spilled my wine on your clothes. I guess you're not king anymore. You're having a selfish allergic reaction. I guess you're not king anymore. Tommen. There we go, Batbird. Thank you very much. Yes, Tommen. That third of the weird Baratheon line. That wasn't mostly Baratheon, but anyway. So over in Armenia, the Romans are still in charge. And the Romans are still mostly going to be calling the shots. However, I'm dropping frames like mad. Okay, now I'm fine again. I don't know what's going on with the internet. I hope I'm not crashing over on everybody's end. I'm probably just like freezing like mad. Oh no, did I go down? I mean, I'm still here. Maybe refresh? It's the nobles? Yeah, they're after me. They don't like me spilling all of their beans, so they're coming after me. Move somewhere with good internet. I normally have good internet. I don't know what's been going on lately. Audio is fine, video was choppy. Thanks, Moose. And welcome, Moose. Hope you're having a good one. I refreshed and it's fine now. Yeah, I know that you think Tiridates is wrong, but that's actually accurate. So over in Armenia, there's a guy named Tiridates. And he looks like this. Armenia. This is Tiridates. Let me turn that off, actually. Tiridates. Good old big statue of him in the Roman form, because he's a buddy of the Romans. But here's the thing. He is going to... It's not guitars'. That's like how... That's like how Smeagol would say guitars. Can hermits play guitars'? It's Gotarzies. He's got a fancy hat and a coat and a nice walking stick. You can't forget the walking stick. It's powerful. Anyway, so Tiridates is going to take over as king of Armenia with Roman support, clearly. But here's the thing. He's going to be able to rule stably for decades. So he rules from 52 to 88. And this is going to be a period of time where Armenia is able to sort of reconstitute itself. It's going to be able to sort of calm some of the tension going on because one of its borders is safe because Rome's not going to invade as long as the Armenians are more or less being compliant. And they don't necessarily have to watch the Parthian border so much because Parthia is perfectly happy killing themselves or cutting each other's ears off to necessarily be interested in invading Armenia. Now, that doesn't mean that the Parthians don't. There's a period of time in 53 during Tiridates' reign where the Parthians do invade, but they're pushed right back out. And the Romans, of course, show up to help. So the threat in Armenia is actually feeling a little bit less at the moment. And he is going to be able to establish a new ruling dynasty in Armenia. And here's the kicker. Tiridates is related to the Parthian royal family. He's an Arsacid. So there's now going to be an Armenian line of Arsacid rulers. And this is going to do sort of the thing that Vonones I did, where because he's got ties to Parthia, it's going to make some of the Parthian sympathizing Armenians happy. But because he's got ties with Rome, he's going to pacify some of the Roman sympathied Armenians as well. But the long, peaceful reign of Tiridates I is going to go a really, really long way towards stabilizing Armenia, helping them shore up their borders, and making sure that when things do go bad, they can react successfully. And it doesn't help that Parthia is still beating the mess out of each other. Let's just be honest, right? So, what's actually going on over with the Parthians? Do they get their act together? Do they put themselves back together again? And the answer is kinda. Almost as good as getting married to a royal wife. Yeah, well, I mean, Tiridates has a royal wife or two. He's also Zoroastrian, and that should be noted. Most of Armenia had a lot of ties back to Zoroastrianism because under that old Achaemenid reign, under the old Persians, Zoroastrianism had been brought in and had been sort of, kind of mixed in the batch. Now, of course, this area is also going to have a lot of Hellenic culture because of, all the stuff with Alexander the Great. But there are a lot of people inside of Armenia at that point that are still very much Zoroastrian. And the fact that Tiridates is going to be Zoroastrian is going to give him a lot of support amongst people sort of on the ground level, which is almost as good as being miraculously born from a deity fertilized egg. Well, there was this unicorn, but we're not talking about Korean history, Figment. There was one of those. Yeah. We need a king. And then a unicorn falls from the sky. Oh, fun Three Kingdoms dynasty stuff. That's always so fun. I love the Korean history stuff. Anyway, back in Parthia, we're going to get a new king, and his name is Volgases. Horse eggs. Right? Volgases is going to take over in 51, and he's going to rule until 78. Read a book with a ruler named Tiridante. Wonder if Tiridates was... Probably so. Where was the book set, Honeycomb? So Tiridates is a fairly common name. It's one of those names that has roots in Zoroastrianism. So if it was anywhere in the far part of Turkey or Armenia, basically anywhere that's on the map right now, anywhere in here, there's a decent chance that the book took place in this area. I don't know, maybe. Tiridante. That's pretty close, though. I would guess that there is a relationship. We need a king! Some unicorn walks by. You, magical thing, choose a king! Confused unicorn points at a kid holding out a carrot. The unicorn has spoken. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it's probably better than the way that the Parthian nobles were choosing. That was a fantasy book, so I wonder if... But the ruler was a personification of fire. Ah, there we go. There's your Zoroastrian tie-in right there. Because inside Zoroastrianism, there are few pure elements, and one of them is fire. And in most, well, actually all real Zoroastrian temples, you're going to have something called the eternal flame that is not supposed to be allowed to go out. So, yeah, there's the tie-in. Yeah, fantasy world based on Zoroastrianism. Yeah, I'm seeing it. Did he have a pin? Did he have a temper? I mean, everybody has a temper. Doesn't mean everybody has a bad temper. You can have a good temper. Anyway, Volgasses, 51 to 78. Here's the thing. When Volgasses takes over, this guy is going to sort of change things. And one of the things that he's going to be responsible for is a fairly evident shift away from a Hellenic-based culture and towards a more Parthian/ancient Persian culture. So what he is likely doing when he's making these changes is that he is sort of posing himself as a populist. He is making an overture to the people that he is a return to the good old days of Parthia. I'm not showing you pictures. I should show you pictures. So first off, this guy is Volgasses. Notice he's got his head on the right way. He's not staring at anybody like old Artabanus did. That guy. But what's interesting is, if we look at some of his other coins, especially this one, this has some Greek letters, but the Greek letters on this particular coin are actually writing in the Parthian language. And what we see here on this coin is not a Hellenic scene. What we're seeing is one of the Zoroastrian Yazadas, one of the female deities inside of Zoroastrianism, giving the crown to our guy Volgasses here. And this is a pretty big move. And some people are like, so he changed some coins. It's bigger than that. She was actually pretty chill, but did bring a lot of change and purification. She rooted out animal sacrifice cult. Ah, paganism. Yes, purification of fire, indeed. So here's the thing. Let us remember that in the ancient world, we don't have television, we don't have the internet, we don't have books. Most people are, to a wide extent, illiterate. If they do know their letters, they don't know very many big words or anything like that. So these coins that they see are very much propaganda. And what you put on your coin is an important part of how you're trying to portray yourself. So, are you not entertained? Is that not why you are here? Normal Neighbor, thank you so much for that raid. And welcome to everybody that came in with Normal Neighbor's raid. Bum-ba-dum. Battlecar Radness, thank you so much for that follow, and welcome to the adventure. So, hello everybody. First off, Normal Neighbor, how was your stream? What were you up to? Do you have things that you could share with us? If you'd like to share any sort of social media, if you'd like to, if you're doing art and you have works in progress, you're welcome to share those. How were you? How was everybody? He makes sexy bees. Interesting. Would you like to share some bees? Sci-Fi Dallas put us onto you. Oh, welcome. Oh, Sci-Fi Dallas. I see what you're doing. So for those of you that might be new to the channel, which I think might be everybody, who knows? My name is Shane. I am a college history teacher here where I live in Mississippi, and I talk history. And I don't think that history has to be boring. We make lots of bad jokes. Tonight we have talked about Monty Python, and I forgot the name of Tom and Baratheon, and we're debating Seinfeld quotes. Anyway, that kind of stuff like that. He made this. Let's look at what we've got going here. Dun, 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 dun. And guitars.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
Well, that's awesome. Any can I say the word twerking B on Twitch and get away with it? Tuna, thank you so much for that sub, man. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Everybody go and check out Normal Neighbor. Looks like some really cool pixel art GIF stuff that is right up my alley. And go give a follow over on the Instagrammy if you got it. Oh man, I'm digging the pixel art stuff. Some Solid Snake stuff. Some that looks really close to a Gundam. I'm just gonna claim that as a Gundam. Oh yeah, man, this is some good stuff. I'm going to have to see what I can do. Bum ba dum. Steve 3000. Thank you for that follow, and welcome to the adventure. Neighbor, I'm going to throw you that old follow back.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
Thank you, Anonymous. Bum ba dum. Fluffy Insanity art. What about fluffy sane art? Does it all have to be fluffy insane art? Is being fluffy part of that? Normal Label, thank you so much for that follow, and welcome to the adventure. So yeah, we just all insane all the time. All insane all the time. So thank you, Anonymous, for gifting that sub to Joey. Oh, and here we go. Here we go.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! Spartacus!
Oh, we're just all Spartacus tonight.
Horses, an armed escort,
Desert.
provisions, desert vehicles, and tanks.
Steve.
You're welcome.
Steve. Tanks for those batas. Much appreciated. And the hype train is up. Thank you all so much. This has been great. Yeah, so very basically, we hang out, we chat. I do not call these lectures because they are not lectures. I like to talk about things in what I call guided conversations, where I sort of have a plan and we sort of talk through stuff. But hey, if we take tangents, if we go off on really big side quests and collect loot along the way, sure, why not?
I'm Spartacus!
I'm
I'm Spartacus!
Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! Spartacus!
Moose. Thank you so much for that sub. Much more redneck. Oh man, so many Spartaci. Thank you all so much for all of these subs and the follows. It's always fun to meet new friends. Bum ba dum. Bum ba dum bum bum. Mary Sue Martin, thank you so much for that follow, and welcome to the adventure. Desha Poisson, thank you for those batailles.
Horses, an armed escort, provisions, desert vehicles, and tanks.
Tanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Hey, Ren. How's it going? Welcome, welcome. Yeah. You could be Spartacus. I will not be Spartacus. Thank you. Figment, you're Spartacus. Everybody's Spartacus. We're all Spartacus.
You shall have camels, horses.
Now you all are just being super generous.
Desert vehicles, and
Tanks.
You're welcome.
Fluffy Insanity Art. Thank you for bringing the insanity over here. Thank you all so very much for all of the hype, the love, and the support. I feel like I should do something special. I don't know. What should I... Those of you all that are around here, what would be... As long as I am not an emperor, I'd rather not be murdered in a year. Nobody wants to be murdered, right? Nobody wants to have their ears chopped off or anything. Oh no, nobody wants to see me dance.
you shall have camels, horses.
Colored by
and
Emmy.
escort, provisions, desert vehicles, and tanks.
You're welcome.
I promise you that me dancing would be worse than me not dancing. So I can call the puppy though, and we shall have a little bit of a Fluffy intervention for perhaps Fluffy Insanity Art. Let me call the puppy.
I'm Spartacus. I'm
Sci-fi.
I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
Sci-fi. So many Spartaci.
Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus.
Oh, here comes the puppy. Oh, and she's got her toy with her. Come here. Come here. Come and see me. Hey, where are you going? Come here. No, don't go under the table. Come here. Come over here. Come up here. Here, come here. Come here. Come and see me. Oh, you gotta stretch first? Well, come here. Oh, now you gotta stretch the back legs. Come here. Come on. Oh, there's the puppy. Oh, yes. It's the puppy. Oh, thank you for the sugar. Oh, my goodness. Puppy sugars. So this is Kaylee. Kaylee is named after Kaylee Fry, the mechanic from the Firefly ship Serenity. And this is her chicken, which is her favorite thing ever. And I'm going to use it to slightly toy with her to keep her up here on this camera. You want the chicken? Arr. 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 Oh, you're so sleepy. Were you asleep on the couch? Is that what you were doing? Were you asleep while I was streaming? Arr. Arr. Let me squeak it. Arr. Arr. You want to catch it? You want to see if we can do a catch? We've been working on this. Let's see if we can... All right, come over here. Come over here. You ready? Are we on camera if I do it right here? All right, here we go. Ready? Oh, good job. Good job. That's a good catch. Oh, yes. So there's a special puppy treat for you all. And there's a literal, like, aura of Fluffle. She has an area of effect spell that adds +5 Fluffle to all rolls in her area. AoE fur. So thank you all again so much for all of the generosity. I really do appreciate that. You all are too nice. You have a dog and 2 bunnies. Ah, yes. I've got a friend that has kept bunnies for probably 20 years now. And having been over to his house, I can confirm puppies shed, but bunnies shed like mad. They just... I don't know how they're not all just absolutely naked. 30 minutes. oh, the kitty cat alarm clock. Those are bad. I feel that. Okay, so tonight, and to let everybody know, we on Thursdays at 1900 Central Standard Time, we meet together and we talk about history in chronological order. And we started all the way back with the very first humans, and we have worked our way forward over the course of the last year and a quarter or so. We're currently talking about the first century AD or CE, however you want to call it. And we are going in what I call phases. So we've taken 100-year chunks and we're looking at all of the different civilizations and empires and cultures and stuff during that first century on usually every other Tuesday. Sometimes I do them more frequently than every other Tuesday. We have viewer request nights where the viewers actually get to pick whatever they want to cover. So last Tuesday, day before yesterday, we talked about Nazi occultism, which was a really fun topic that I think a lot of people sort of got excited about. Not that we like Nazis. Nazis are bad. Nazis are very bad. Nobody should be a Nazi. And I got a hype train emote. You all are awesome. Seriously, thank you all for that. All the bits, all the follows, all the subs, and everybody just talking. Everybody being here and chatting and being active, that means the world. Really, really does. So you all are amazing and lovely people. Thank you so very much. And they gave us puppy emotes. How fitting. We get puppy emotes. I'm wondering now if the Twitch gods are watching me. I don't know if I should be worried about that or not. Anyway, so... Oh, and a kitty emote. There we go. Okay, so maybe they're not all puppies. Or maybe they were just listening to our discussion. So, who knows? Anyway, as I was saying, so at the end of that discussion on Nazi occultism, we had another vote. And the next viewer request stream is going to be on the history of the country of Israel. So, like the modern country of Israel, from when it started until as close as we can get to modern day. And so that's going to be our next viewer request episode. But we've done a lot of stuff in the viewer request world. All kinds of stuff. Like we've done the history of the mafia. We've done the KGB. We've done the history of metalworking and the history of pirates. And the history of cheese was one of them, which actually turned out to be a lot more exciting than I thought it was going to be. Should do some Thai history. Well, Taoist, we can make that happen if you have the points. You can buy one. I don't have them on right now, but there are point redemptions in the channel. So if you get 10,000 points, and I know that seems like a lot, but you know, I did doubt cheese, and the difference is that cheese took me about 6 times longer to prepare for than a standard stream. And potatoes, I suspect, would be just as much. You could choose poutine history. I do exercise a little bit of veto power on that. So we could maybe work something out that would be like maybe the historical emphasis on traditionally Canadian foods and expand that a little bit further than poutine, maybe. Because stuff that's narrow like that gets real tough to fill up a show with. You want to get as much as my time for my points. That's Moose, just always being economic and looking at the numbers. Like, if I'm going to get some time out of Shane, I'm going to get the maximum amount. History of the home. If you're talking about history of houses, we could do that. Anyway, so that's what viewer request is. But tonight we're talking about the Parthians and the Armenians. Bum ba dum bum, bum ba dum dum dum. Desha Poisson, thank you very much for that follow, and welcome to the adventure. Did you know Thailand is the only country in Southeast Asia that was never colonized? I'm going to have to argue with that because the British colonized the devil out of it. Maybe in the first round of colonization, but British Siam was totally a thing. 18 to go. Oh, yeah. So, right here. Oh, no problem. I try. I try to be a polyglot. I am not as good at it as I should be. I do English and Spanish pretty well.
Friends, Romans,
Countrymen, lend me your ears.
I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him.
We could totally do deep dive on the Dacians. And they're actually coming up to being fairly contemporaneous to our larger frame of reference. So by the next phase, when we're going from 100 to 200, the Dacians are going to show up quite a bit. Yeah. So anyway, right here. Boop, 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 boop. It turns out that I'm also a giant nerd, if you haven't figured that out already from the fact that I have Mr. Potato Head Darth Vader and Mr. Potato Head Stormtrooper, and then Gundam models, and then Transformers, and then more Gundam models. And there's a picture of the Riddler hanging over my shoulder over here. And there's another big Gundam model right here. Yeah, anyway, giant nerd. Anyway, so... But trying to get him to say something in Sumerian is like pulling chicken teeth. I don't know Sumerian. It's a very difficult language to learn. I don't even know the cuneiform alphabet. Yeah, no, what a nerd. Also, Ren, thank you very much for that host. Anyway, so I was saying something and then I lost it. Our follower goal that we're running. I really enjoy the work of J.R.R. Tolkien. And I have read Lord of the Rings a lot, and I've read all the other books like Silmarillion and all of the other stuff that people don't know about, like Book of Lost Tales and all of that fun stuff a lot. And the viewers of the show figured out that I'm a giant Tolkien fan, and so they started asking me to do History of Middle-earth. And I decided that I would make that a follower goal. So when we hit 500 followers, which is just 18 away, we will have our 4th History of Middle-earth stream. Daniel Landerman. Oh yeah, On Fairy Stories is amazing. The On Fairy Stories is an essay that Tolkien wrote, which basically breaks down a lot of the differences in genre between stuff like fantasy and fairy stories and folklore. Really, really cool stuff. Also, hey Daniel, welcome my friend. How are you, man? So yeah, we're doing History of Middle-earth, and we started with the creation of Middle-earth, and we've done 3 of those so far. At the last one, we just got the elves who had awakened. We got them over to the Blessed Realm, and the next one is going to be lots of killing. Lots of killing. Oh yeah, absolutely, Daniel. It's such good stuff, man. All of the admin of this stream are nerds. Yeah, pretty much. Makes another 18 accounts to follow me. Oh, Fluffy. The sentiment is appreciated, but I am never going to ask somebody to do something like that. Yeah, we're going to be kinslanging. I should check to see if I have Letters of Father Christmas. Oh yeah, Letters of Father Christmas is great. Which basically became an entire fantasy universe based around Santa Claus. Yeah. And this is stuff that Tolkien would share with his children, by the way. So what level of Tolkien nerd are we? Stephen Colbert level? I don't know. Here's how I've always said it. I don't know if I could out-Tolkien Stephen Colbert. But I promise that we could sit down and have a really good conversation. I know a lot about Tolkien stuff. And this is not me trying to brag. It's mostly me exposing my giant nerddom. But, like, I could hang with a lot of the stuff. I would be a good conversation partner with him. I don't know if I could beat him or not. But I know that when he gets asked a lot of questions, I know the answers to a lot of the questions I get asked. In Elvish, it depends. I am not as good with the old languages as I am the newer languages. So if we're talking about Sindarin, maybe I could get by a little bit. My conjugation of verbs is not so great, and I don't know as much Quenta as I probably should. But lots of vocabulary. Like, I know lots of the vocabulary, but my verbs are not so great. I'll just be honest. But if we're talking about reading Dwarven runes and stuff, yeah, that stuff's easy. Nerd. Anyway, so tonight we are talking about Parthia and Armenia. And the raid was a very welcome and very fun sidetrack, but I do feel as if we might need to sort of give everybody a little bit of what they came for here, not just me sitting here and gabbing about nerd stuff. But so we're talking about Parthia and Armenia, and these are two kingdoms. Parthians were an empire that had basically conquered this region right here, starting at about 242 BC, and then Armenia, which became an independent kingdom around the 100 mark BC. But can you read Shakespeare in its original Klingon? Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. That's actually where the puppy of war comes from, by the way. And I don't think I shared the puppy emote when the puppy arrived, so I should throw some puppy emotes in there. Get on with it. I need to add several redemptions. Anyway, so we are currently talking about Parthia, and we are talking about the king of Parthia, a guy named Volgasses, who sounds like he had beans for dinner, but it's actually not that big of a deal. He is the emperor of Parthia, and he rules from 51 to 78. And this is, again, in the 1st century. And so we've been talking, for those of you that have just come in, about how this region of Armenia is really important because it's between Parthia over here, and the big bad guy of the European world at that time was the Roman Empire. And Rome wanted to control Armenia, and Parthia wanted to control Armenia because it sits right there between them, and it gives you really good invasion routes to the other. And if you've got a big empire and there's another bad empire out there, you don't want them having, I use the phrase, the key to your back door, right? You don't want them sneaking up on you. And Volgasses is a bit sick of the Romans winning. The Romans had been dominating the Armenian leadership and their power base at this point for about 60 years. Multiple kings of the Parthians had come and gone, mostly because the nobles killed a lot of them. Nobles would pick them and then kill them, and the long ones ruled for like maybe a decade, and they got out with death, and then they cut some of the ears off of them, and it's just a whole fun story. You're welcome to check out the VODs, by the way. I save all of my VODs if I can remember to. So you can roll back through all of that VOD stuff if you want and check out past episodes. So we're talking about Volgasses, who had kind of decided to be an uber Parthian. Like, he really wanted to hype up this I am Parthian kind of angle on things. So he had started pushing Parthian history and imagery instead of the Greek stuff, which had been really, really popular all the way back with Alexander the Great, in the 330s, who had conquered all of this area. This is 330s BC, so about 400 years prior. Greek culture had just blown up with Alexander the Great. And a lot of these big empires sort of Hellenized. They became like the Greeks. But Volgasses is like, let's do things our way. Let's not do the stuff like the Greeks anymore. And I was showing a picture of this coin. We mostly share articles and memes. I chat on the Discord. People don't always chat back at me, but I'm a chatterbox. If you haven't figured it out already, Shane really enjoys talking. I became a teacher on purpose. Anyway, so we're looking at this coin, and the reason we're looking at this coin is because instead of having Greek stuff everywhere, we've got Zoroastrian stuff. And these are Greek letters, but the Greek letters are being used to write Parthian words. So on his coins, he's making a direct statement like, look, the Greek stuff, but the Zoroastrian stuff, hey. And the Parthian stuff, hey. Also, please don't kill me. The previous 7 rulers had either been killed or killed. Well, one guy got out with his ears being cut off, and one guy died after 3 months of being king. So that doesn't really count. But Volgases gets the Parthian people behind him. And most importantly, he gets the nobles behind him. And these nobles had been really troublesome. They had killed, like I said, 7 of the previous rulers. And with a sort of newly united Parthia, he's going to go, all right, now, it's time to go get ourselves some Armenia. And he invades Armenia and links up with some of the people inside of Armenia that were kind of Parthian sympathizers and causes a pretty big deal of war. And there's a war between the Romans and the Armenians on one side and the Parthians on the other side. And this stretches from 58 to 63. And at one point, Volgases even manages to put a Parthian ruler on the throne. Now, he immediately gets killed, and the guy that's the Roman selection gets put back in charge. But at this point, the Romans are going to start making examples, right? Armenians just can't get a break. Yeah, I know, man. It's like they're stuck in the middle. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. That should have been a title of the night. But I would have had to... Who would I have rhymed with? Stuck in the middle with Artaxias? Doesn't really flow very well. By the way, I also try to make puns with the titles of the stream. So Pars is part of modern-day Iran, and that's where we get Parthian Empire from. And at the beginning of the stream, Parthia was falling apart. So take another little piece of my Pars. You get it. You get it. I know you get it. Yeah. Anyway, even if you don't get it, that's okay. So I'm dropping frames again. And now I'm not dropping frames again. So I don't know what's going on with the internet, but I hope everybody's still hanging around. So anyway, this big war is going to go in favor of the Romans. The Romans are going to win. They're going to push Volgases out. And then they're going to take some dramatic measures. And that joke was so bad your stream died. Oh, good gravy. I mean, that's what you get when you hang around here. Bad jokes, dad jokes, puns that are of questionable concern. As many pop cultural references as I can hopefully cram into a stream without being overly obnoxious. There's a light level of obnoxiousness that's okay. But there's that threshold where it becomes too much. And I try to make myself a camp, like right on that side of the line, where it's like, I'm not horrible, just a little bit. Anyway, so the Romans are going to ride through the eastern part of Armenia. The part of Armenia over here that is on the border with Parthia. And they're basically going to find anybody that had supported the Parthians, that had made open statements in favor of the Parthians, or had Parthian tendencies that were known. And the Romans are just going to kill all of them. So how do you deal with a client kingdom where a sizable population of the client kingdom is more in favor of your enemy than you? Well, the Roman answer is ride through the countryside and kill all of them. Because Rome doesn't really do half measures. They're much more like, we're going to kill all of the people that are causing us trouble, and there'll be lessons for everybody else. And Roman Volgases antidotes, yeah. Romades, maybe. instead of Rolaids. Yeah, to get rid of Volgases. Yeah, there's a bad pun for you. Yeah, that's a horrible pun. It's a horrible pun. I'm kind of ashamed of that one myself. Anyway, Volgases makes it for a while, and he's more or less abashed by this whole failure in Armenia. He does hang on for another 15 years, and he starts focusing more on the other side of the empire. Like, okay, if Rome's doing all their stuff over here, what about over here? What's going on over here? Well, that's where the Parthians are actually going to be able to find a lifeline. Because, I mean, Volgases gets old and he dies. He becomes an old fart. Anyway. Not parkour. Parkour! Pacorus II. Pacorus II takes over in 78, and he is going to rule until 110. And we're not going to cover the very end of his rule, but there's some interesting stuff that happens during the reign of Pacorus. I really want to say chicken Pacorus, just because I feel like some people might like Indian food, and that might be a fun joke. Maybe vegetable Pacorus if you're a vegetarian. I really like Indian food. Anyway, so this far eastern part of the empire butts right up to this region right here. All right, been doing Thai things since 8 a.m. this morning, and it's now 10 p.m. Got to head off for sleep. Sci-Fi, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for all of the generosity with the gift subs. Thank you for hanging around. I appreciate the back and the forth. Good stuff. Need to pop in more often. You are always welcome. Everybody's always welcome, especially people that are going to be cool and participate and not be giant jerks. And we rarely ever get jerks here. Rarely ever. Like, I can think of maybe 2 or 3 instances where we've had a jerk and they're gone, you know? So, good times roll, right? Mai Tais since 8 a.m. So, Pacorus is really interested in what's going on over in China. China was getting itself back together. This is under the Han Dynasty. And the emperor at the time is a guy named Emperor He, which is spelled H-E. More like language immersion. Thai is an interesting language. I respect the dedication. I can't get a good grasp on tonal languages like that unless I have a native speaker to go alongside. So my hat is off to you, my friend. It's a tough language to learn, especially coming from an American background. Anyway, so China, hey, has been expanding over this way, and it just so happens that the Silk Road, which is running this way, is connected into the backside of the Parthian Empire. The history of Rome in Latin. I could do that. I don't think many people would be interested, though. Latin is such a clunky language. Very, very small vocabulary. It's sort of like trying to build a house with only a hammer and a flathead screwdriver, and that's all you have. I mean, you could do some stuff, but it's not gonna be as good as it would be if you had more tools. Again, Roman's very clunky, or Latin's very clunky. Would be cool though. It would be cooler if you did. So Pacorus is going to receive an ambassador. Emperor He is going to send over a Chinese ambassador to the Parthian Empire. And he's like, hey, I'm not even going to try it. I would say something and I would have the wrong inflection and the wrong tone, and I would say something like, your mother is not a nice person, and I don't even want to... I love the language. It's so pretty to be written like that. Such a cool looking language. Anyway, Sci-Fi, thanks very much for hanging around, and I'll see you around the interwebs. So, this Chinese ambassador, his name is Gan Yang, shows up in Parthia, and the Parthians start talking with this guy, and it turns out that he had been sent to Rome, and they're like, well, let's show you around Parthia. And he's like, well, I'm supposed to go to Rome. And they're like, let's look around all the stuff that we have. Let's go on a tour of the empire. So they take him all over, and they bring him over here to the Persian Gulf, and they get him on the border of this, and they go, all right, man, look, the only way to get to Rome from here is get in a boat, and you've got to sail all the way around this thing, and then all the way around this thing, and then all the way up this thing to get to Rome. And Ganyang is like, that sounds like a lot. I was unaware that Rome was so far away. And Parthia is like, oh yeah, man, dude, Rome is like super far away, and it's really dangerous, and the currents are bad, and the wind is blowing the wrong way in the ocean right now, and I don't think it would be, we would not be good hosts if we let you get on that boat. And Ganyang is like, oh man, that sounds, I appreciate that. Thank you all so much for keeping my best interest at heart. And what Parthia is doing is lying to this guy to their face. They don't want him to get to Rome because the Chinese wanted to open up trade with Rome. And they're like, no, trade with us. We're right here. Up that thing unless there's a boat in the canal. Yeah, and there wasn't even a canal at that point. Wait, this isn't Rome. So inconvenient. There's pirates and man-eating mermaids, and there's this thing called the Kraken, but some people call it the Kraken, and then they argue about it. Yeah, just all kinds of crazy stuff, man. So you don't want to go over there. And Ganyang is like, okay, man, yeah, let's just let me make some trade deals with you guys, and I'll go back to the emperor and I'll tell him I came out with some good stuff. And they're like, that's excellent. And Pacorus actually manages to link some really stable trade up through the eastern part of the empire and into this outlet of the Tarim Basin and the Silk Road. And this is going to bring a lot of money into the coffers of the Parthians. And this is going to give them a little bit of lifeblood, because just to be honest, they had been sort of rough for a while. And that is actually where we're going to leave it tonight. So that's all for the show on my end. But as always, if you all have questions about anything, if there is anything that you would like to talk about, if you would like to redeem any sort of channel points. Oh, I didn't even show you Pacorus. Boom. Here we go. There's Pacorus. Bum, ba, da, bum. He's got a fancy hat. Mm-hmm. What a cliffhanger. Things went great. Until. Yeah. I always try to leave. Yeah. All right. So, do we have anything? Anybody have any questions? Anybody want to bring up any topics or redeem any channel points? Anybody got anything? Off to stream yourself. Catch you later. Keep teaching. Oh, yeah, man, Daniel. Thanks very much, man. Much appreciated. For those of you, let's do some shout-outs. We haven't done shout-outs tonight. Shout out. Everybody should go follow Daniel Landerman. He is an awesome artist. He does digital stuff, but he also does oil stuff, traditional painting, and he is both a really cool guy and a wealth of knowledge. He is very generous with helping people understand stuff. He always talks through all of his processes, and he has really good advice. He's got all of the perspective stuff and the the value stuff down to a T and can explain it in a way that is, and I'm not even an art guy, but I can listen to Daniel and learn stuff. So you should go give Daniel a follow. Who else do we have in here that does the stream stuff? I know that Adventure Ren is around, so we're going to give a Ren the shout out. Go hang out in Ren's channel. Ren does botany talks, does video game stuff sometimes, does art stuff sometimes, is currently doing a weekly sort of book review / read through thing on Monday nights. You should go check out Ren's channel. Too many vowels and such and things I can't say. I'm trying to see. Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, no problem. Ren is a cool person, and I have fun every time I go. We have Larry Elmore on the podcast this weekend. Moose, share your links to your YouTube channel or to whomever you want. So Paradox Moose and another friend of the channel, Joby Dorr, run a podcast called Art Condition on Sundays at what would that be, 1600 time Pacific Standard, 1600 PST. So you should go check that out. It's not just about art. There's also a lot of stuff on there about how to market yourself as an independent or indie developer of any sort of creative outlet. There's a lot of information on there about how to properly use and navigate the social media world. What did I miss? Did I miss a Vern question? Vern asked a question. How did I miss it? I miss questions all the time. What was the language of trade? Still very much Greek. People were still using Greek and still used Greek all the way through even the medieval periods. You really don't see a subversion of Greek until the Arabic language becomes dominant because the Muslim kingdoms and empires take over all of that area. And even then, Greek is still a thing that they know. They would just rather trade with each other using Arabic instead of Greek. But Greek is still very much the lingua franca, which is ironic because the Franks didn't even really exist at this point. But there we go. 2 p.m. Oh, yeah, I said 1600, and it should be 1400. Because it's 4 o'clock at my time, like a dum-dum. Yeah, see, there we go. So 1400 PST. Go follow Joby, and you can check out Moose and Joby's podcast. And it's really fun. Good stuff. Chinese folk speaking Greek to Parthians. So in that blending area, so right around in here, you're actually going to start seeing the development of several individual, rather unique languages. Like right around in here, you're going to see a language develop that's called Sogdian. And it is spelled Sogdian. And the Sogdian language is an interesting blend of Asiatic, Turkic, and Greek languages. And it's going to be one of these sort of languages of trade that exist because of the need to be able to move around between all these different zones. But yeah, I mean, there are people that are in China that speak Greek to Parthians. It's just weird. It's not necessarily weird. It's just the way that it was. Favorite coins or currency if you like paper money or Doge. I do not have cryptocurrency. I am I have opinions about cryptocurrency that are deep, that I don't necessarily need to get into here. I don't know if I have favorite coins. I don't know if I've ever thought of that. All right, see you, Ren. I got to head out. Take it easily. Hope you have a good one. China was historically obsessed with silver. Oh, yeah. Esperanto of its time. Oh, man, I wish Mac and a lab coat were here to hear you refer to Esperanto. Oh, Buffalo stuff, Buffalo nickels. Let's see. I have some coins. I really don't know. I really don't know. How related to Armenia are modern Armenians? Very much so. They're still the same people. Greek was the French of its time, which was the German of its time, which was the English of its time, which is the Esperanto of its time. Yeah, pretty much. So I've gone through periods of time where I thought about collecting coins, and I have. Do I have those like right here? Give me just a second. What if I showed you 3 coins and see if that would work? Because I have a lot of interesting stuff here. That's a pretty cool one. So this is... zoom in. Zoom. Focus. Are you going to focus? There we go. This guy is a half dinar from Jordan. And I like it because it's this really interesting nonagon. It's got 9 sides to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sorry, septagon. It's a septagon. And I had never seen a coin be a septagon before. So that's kind of neat. What else do I have here that's interesting? Oh, here's a fun one. This is actually one of my wife's. I'm trying to see how much this is. Okay, so this is, let me see if I can get this to zoom in. This is a Norwegian krona, and it's neat because it's got a hole in it. It's got a little birdie guy there, but yeah, it's got a hole in it. I've never seen a coin with a hole in it before, so that one's pretty neat. I've got some francs, got some Canadian money. What are you? Oh, that's a euro. I've got tons of euros from lots of other places. Trying to find some stuff that's kind of unique here. That's a euro. That's a quarter. I don't know why the quarter is in there. Got some German coins from before they used euros. But that's not really what I'm after. There's particular one that I'm looking for. And I can't find it. Where are you? Because I had a Chinese coin. Is that you? No, that's a Mexican peso. Is that you? Ah, no, but this is this will work though. This is from Belize. It is a Belize penny. Let me see if I can get this to zoom in. Boom. So check this guy out. It's all like scalloped. It's of course got Queen Elizabeth on it because Belize was a British colony for a while. But this is a Belizean penny. 1 cent from 2002. So there's 3 cool coins. I know I have some Chinese coins in here somewhere. I should probably take care of these better and organize them. They're literally just in a change dish. Yeah, they're in there somewhere. Anyway, so I don't know off the top of my head like my 3 favorite coins, but I hope that show and tell was sufficient to cover that. I do have a $1 bill from Jordan, or 1 dinar bill. Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Pretty cool stuff. The problem with money is that you have to spend money to get it. And I've got some euros down there too, but I don't remember what they are. What are you? Oh no, those are Slovenian. Ah. All kinds of stuff that I did not know that I had. Anyway, cool stuff though. Everyone else has prettier money than America. A lot of people are moving away from using paper. Like Australia has gone to completely plastic money, and it's almost impossible to rip. So it doesn't degrade, meaning that it lasts a lot longer and costs them less overall because they don't have to constantly replace their money. Okay. All right. Let me catch up with chat. Missed some stuff. Rand's got to head out. Esperanto. Get a coin collection. Yes, I believe you mentioned coin collection. Wheat pennies, buffalo pennies, like the Chinese coins with the holies in them. Yes. How related to Armenians? Are they modern Armenians? Very much so. Got a coin album to show you. Got a lot of Israeli coins too. That's all the stuff. Jordan, so you don't like it. Wish they didn't have a monarchy. Down. Ooh, yeah. We gotta be careful with that now. The Jordanians, they have a right to exist too, my bud. Lived in Denmark and Sweden as a teenager. They call it a krona. Yeah. You had a Bitcoin and you lost it in the trash. Oh, okay, not. Okay. Everyone else is pretty money. Yes, you like US bills, straight, simple, forward, business-like. Not like the euros, which feel like monopoly money. Microplastics. Boom. Okay, there we go. All right, caught up. All right. Now it is time to see where we are going to go raid. And I think, looking at the list, I think everybody, the wall carving. From the images tonight. I have closed that. Let me reopen that. Anubani rock relief. Boom. There we go. Ba, ba, da, ba. He's called up quick. Ask questions. Yeah, it's not the world's best rock relief, but it is a rock relief. And it came out of a period of time where there wasn't a lot of stability inside of Parthia. I get you. I get you, Cognac. So Jordanians do have democracy. They're fairly forward, and I know that the king still has a lot of power, but there is a parliament there that has a lot of rule passing power, and the king's actually starting to limit himself a little bit. Now, he's still a king, and there's still a lot of power held in that position, but I get where you're coming from. It really does look like he's riding a cow. King on a cow. All right, let's see who is streaming now, and I will compare that to, and just to remind everybody, I do keep a list, like, of all of the people that we have rated, and the dates that we rated them, because I do my best to try to spread around the love. And I don't want to keep rating the same people over and over and over again. So I want to make sure that we get to everybody before we get back to the same people, if you hear what I'm saying. So let me look at who we have rated the least recent, because of the people that I follow, I have rated all of them at one time or another. So I think, did Ren go to stream now? No, she did not go to stream now. Okay. She would be the first one that would pop up. Parthi's war cry was Cowabunga. So that was that was that was Gotarzes, not Guitarzes. Guitarzes. So I think we're going to go raid Cave Geek, who we raided last on March 23rd. So it's been a couple of months. Almost 2 months. Yeah, so let's go. We'll go raid the cave. And spread the love that way. So, Cave Geek, friend of the channel, is currently working on a map of the world, and he has filled in the actual the projection part of the thing, and now he is adding wonders of the world around the border of the map, and I think he's currently working on the Amazon River. So we're going to go raid Cave Geek. He's a really good friend of the channel, has offered a lot of support. Please do share the love with Cave. When we get to Figment, if you have never been here when we've raided Cave Geek, he makes leather maps out of traditionally brain tanned buckskin, and he has a pyrography tool that he uses to burn into the leather in a very neat way, and then paints all of it using traditional pigments and a bone in the way that it would have been painted way back in the time. So he's a cool guy. We will go raid Cave. I'll hit the button here and we'll start this thing up. Thank you all so very much for hanging out tonight. Thank you to everybody that participated in the hype train. It is always lovely to see everybody, regardless of whether or not you're throwing funds at me. I do appreciate that stuff. And by the way, that really does make a difference. That money does go towards making the stream better. I'm in the process of securing a new computer right now, and the money that I get from Twitch goes right back into the stream. I don't just go spend it on whatever I feel like. So thank you all so much for hanging around. Next definite stream is next Thursday. There's a small chance that we might do our viewer request stream next week for Israel. I don't know yet. It's really going to depend on how I feel. So don't count on it, but it's possible. Next definite stream next Thursday, 1900 Central Standard Time. Thank you all so very, very much. I appreciate everybody. Have a good weekend. Also might be around this weekend to do some model building stuff. I don't know. Maybe. Our Battle Cries adventure. Throw some adventure hats, and I'll see you next time.